Why we are right here together? Because knowledge matters, because it's very important to give different options to patients, to share with knowledge. And thank you very much, Vladka, for your intro. And this is a very important topic for us to discuss about how to share the knowledge. What should we do among patients and other stakeholders in healthcare? So let me start from, of course, the point that everybody knows, and we all know, that a well-educated patient cooperates better with their doctor, better adheres to treatment, and better deals with the disease. So on that basis, let me ask very fundamental, crucial question. What is the main role of patient organization in this sharing knowledge? Let me start from Mira.
So hello everyone, and thank you for having me here. So the main purpose and the main role of our organization is to support patients to be there. At the moment, we find the most important moment is at the time of diagnosis, when people are totally shocked. I represent disease area which is a rare blood cancer, and I can test you now and see how many of you have heard of multiple myeloma and knows what multiple myeloma is. If you can raise hands.
A few.
There you are. So when a patient gets a diagnosis, in Croatia we did the research actually where we put to the patient, at the moment of diagnosis, did the hematologist or whoever made the diagnosis, did they explain what the disease is and what expectations they can have in treatment? And we had 6 choices for patients. One was yes, they did. To yes, they did, but I didn't get anything because I was so shocked. To I don't want to know. So the main purpose actually of my organization at the moment when people call us is to listen and to hear what they want to know, because everyone wants to know something different. So that's the first. So it's a telephone contact. We also have published a handbook for multiple myeloma for patients, which is free, and we published, it's been coming out like 8 years now, and published it in about 3,000 copies. We give it for free in Croatia, but also in the region, because we share the same language. But also we have materials on the web, and the important thing about materials for patients is that it has to be in a language that people understand. So it has to be everyday language. The materials we were fortunate to get from myeloma patient organization in UK and USA for free. We translated it, and it's actually the language is for someone who's age 16. So it has to be at that level, so you understand the disease, the nature of disease, what to expect in your treatment. So that's the first role, which then we supplement with other activities.
As we all heard at the beginning during the introductory lecture by Professor Paraskandola, all of us we are searching any information via internet. So this is of crucial importance, just to gather reliable knowledge, to have reliable resources of knowledge. So this is very important. And now I'd like to pass the question: what is primary role of your organization in Czech Republic in terms of delivering knowledge to the patient? Jana.
Yes, speaking on behalf of leukemia patients, I am a leukemia patient treated now for 16 years. I would say that, first of all, we have to see that the patient organization is not something institutionalized. It's a civic society. It reflects the needs of the patient. So also its roles should correspond really to the patient's needs. And these needs evolve throughout the time. And as we have heard in the previous session, as the medicine brings new therapies, so then of course this brings even a stronger need of patient education. So the patient organization should facilitate scientifically valid information, but in a patient-friendly form. So all the clinicians who collaborate with our organization as authors of the educational materials, because we as patients cannot develop them ourselves. So this is the need of the collaboration. So they are aware that this needs a different approach. There should be scientifically valid information, but at the same time, it should be understood for a lay person. So in this way, we only choose what kind of format do we focus on. So there needs to be a dedicated website with this information. We are currently very much focused on video lectures, because we found out that the brochure, in order to have a content that the clinician would understand this is a piece of work done, would need an introduction and the main part and conclusion. So then it becomes a monography that many patients won't actually read. But when you divide the information in short pieces of video to answer a particular question, that enables the patients or their relatives, whenever they have a particular problem, to find a respective part of video, and they get their answers for. Also, we provide lectures where patients can come, like to this conference, and they will hear medical lectures relevant to their disease, and then they can ask questions for what they want to know, not what the clinicians want them to tell. So this enables also a better contact with the clinicians, because their first impression is, from a medical point of view, if I am at a congress and I deliver a presentation, I can somehow anticipate what the audience will ask me in relation to my presentation. But the patients, they are unpredictable. They can ask whatever question, because they reflect the gaps which they cannot find.
Let me also be a bit unpredictable and ask you another question. Although we all know, well, delivering knowledge to the patient is of crucial importance, there is another issue. We all heard about individual problems of many patients on systemic level. So the question is for you and for Wojciech, what your organization do, and how can you help the patients on this more systemic level? Just I mean the access to therapies, reimbursement policy, and other issues on systemic level.
Yes, definitely. This is a part of the evolution. As I've said, each patient organization have started with mediating the information, but throughout the times, it is evolved to be a representative of the patients in dealing with the other stakeholders of the healthcare system. So we had to start with the medical societies to show them we are a reliable partner, and we need to communicate the patient needs, and at the same time, this advocacy to be underpinned by science. And this dialogue is ongoing, and we have to better equip ourselves with arguments when we deal with the healthcare ministry, with the payers, with the drug regulatory bodies. So this is a both-sided beneficial partnership.
But to be good partner for the government, for politicians, you have to gain your own knowledge on the medical field. So how do you get this knowledge, up-to-date knowledge, as patient organization?
Yes, this is the point of our meetings with the clinicians, the members of the Hematology Society, and we go even beyond the country level because we are involved in global networks like chronic myeloid leukemia. We have set up a global network, CML Advocates Network, in 2007. So now over 110 patient organizations around the world. So then when we have patient summits, we have the opportunity to invite really very high-profile clinicians. So that's the way how we get updates which are available at medical congresses, basically.
Thank you very much. As now I'd like to address a couple of questions to my Polish colleagues. Let me switch to Polish.
Na polski. Wojciech, I have few questions to you because of course we heard how important role is of the patients organizations in dissemination of the reliable medical knowledge, and at the beginning we saw this Janssen's initiative. There are many other very interesting initiatives thanks to which this tool, which is called Dr. Google, should be more and more reliable. But this is hard work for the professionals to deliver this reliable content. But I would like to move to this aspect that we have already tackled, means the role of the patients organization in supporting patients on the level of the dialogue with the decision makers. So how do you perceive the patients organization on this level? This is the first question. And the second question refers to kind of perspective or international cooperation. What benefits do you see for the patients and for the patients' organizations? Answering the first question, I think the very important task for the patients' organization when it becomes big organization is not to alienate itself. It is easier for us because each Alivia Cancer Foundation is contacting with us, so we have 6,000 to 5,000 patients who we give advice by email, so we have to be very responsible because we are not doctors. But of course we are not undertaking any activities, system activities, which do not result directly from the expectations of the persons contacting us, or they become our patients who are under our care. And we're also motivated by media because from media we would like to signal certain problems, and also the expectation of the media is that for such cases they are supported by the human story. But we have of course different types of problems and different patients' lives. And on the second thing is, because I would like to make a statement, because this is not only our problems, but also the doctors say that it's also their problem, that some time ago it was very difficult to get the reliable information regarding many matters, but now we have too much information, and then this is maybe this is only my personal limitation, but we have big problem to sieve the reliable information, to filter the reliable information, which is important for the key groups of patients that could be disseminated to the group of persons. So to filter from this information which we can find in the media. I was just talking with one radio station, and the university in Bergen actually published this information that the cleaning persons they were taken ill. I mean, they get cancer more often because of the use of these chemical stuff for cleaning. So there are more and more such situations which are misinforming people. So we have to be selective. So what is the international cooperation is very important. I met Jana 2 years ago, and because I met her, so I wanted to check what is how fantastically the register of drugs operates in Czech Republic, and I would like, and now I can encourage the decision makers to improve the functioning of the register of drugs, showing them the Czech drug. Of course, there are regional solutions, there are global events. Bartek Paliński, the president of Alivia Foundation, is very emotional about the scale of the patients' organizations in Iran, that they are very innovative. So on one hand, it is in this way that we have to learn competences to select information important for the patients, not to alienate from people who are contacting us or cooperating with us. And thirdly, we can learn from each other each time when we meet. We can give very concrete recommendations. We can have very good recommendations for our future operations. This is very convincing for me what you are saying, that from this dialogue and cooperation, so international cooperation, there are very tangible benefits and the possibility of sharing experience and looking for optimal paths. The cooperation with the patients and the patients' organizations is developing very well. But I think that still we have the anachronic system of state administration. And today we have with us the Minister Marek Posokiewicz, the Chief Sanitary Inspector, who is not an anachronic type of person. Seeing him in YouTube channel, but I would like maybe Mr. Minister to share with us this or to explain this idea that what is missing is the active dialogue with the patients' organizations in a sense of making administrative decisions. And I'm not talking here about the will from the state officials, but I'm rather talking about the ineffective law, which we saw also in Vladka's presentation. So it will be easier if we have this partnership model. It means for patients, but with patients. And I think that in the state administration, this model is not present, or very rarely. Dziękuję.
Better Polish. Dlatego pozostanę przy naszym języku tutaj gospodarzy.
School, so I have different observations from today's meeting, also from the previous session, about how important and still not appreciative enough is communication. When we talk about good solutions, so we have to have this system-based approach because the system helps, but on the other hand, each patient should be treated individually despite those system-related solutions. patients. The role of the organization, of the patient's organization, is becoming more and more important, and I am not a politician myself, but I will compare it with this political situation. So there is this governing party, decision makers, and the role of the patients' organization should be a role, should be like constructive opposition. So meaning that they have their own experience and they show the paths or the manners of system-based solutions to those who make decisions. I myself cooperate with few organizations, patients organizations, but in addition to this cooperation, I would like to say that I am trying to be competitive to them in such a way that because of my tasks, statutory tasks, I would like to be ahead of them. It means, first of all, to carry out such awareness-raising activities which will result in this, that the recipients will not become patients or will become patients later. We have to remember that life is the fatal disease transmitted through sexual life, and everybody is born, and then we have kind of a journey where at the end we die. But that is why this education is very important also through the patients' organizations. On one hand, what lifestyle we should adopt, and then how to behave, how to live when we are sick. And then communication is very important from the medical services, not only decision makers, but also from the patients. And this communication is missing on both sides. And we can hear in different countries that the doctors, and not only the doctors, the medical staff is talking very little with the patients. That there is no enough explanation. And I heard a very interesting story in the morning driving. It was in the Polish radio. So they talked about the communication between a doctor and a patient. And the psychologist was explaining how the doctors should address the patients who came to them to ask the patients, how can I help? And this journalist said that he met a man who told him that he went to a doctor because he had this kind of negative approach, and he went there with the dictaphone and he recorded that conversation, and then at home he listened to it again. And what conclusion he had? He said that that doctor was quite okay, but I was not prepared for this conversation. So it means patient, when he goes to the doctor, should know what questions the patient wants to ask, and the doctor should have wider knowledge, should kind of anticipate what the patient could ask the doctor, and then this communication goes smoothly. And also I hope that all patients' organizations will become stronger, and that they will be heard, and each who can think economically realizes that never a system can cure all people from everything.
So despite the most important point on our discussion, for the solutions, both systemic and individual approach towards the patient, special attention should be paid to the primary initial education that starts from the primary school children, so that they know how to live the longest possible way. I've been speaking a bit too long. I do apologize for that. Thank you very much, Minister. I hope that the patients' organizations will be growing strong. I've got the certainty. The role of the patient, I can bet, will be growing, and the patients will become true partners of the decision makers in the therapeutic processes. There is no other way, especially in this era of quick communication and distribution of different ideas and opinions. If you allow me, let me switch back into English.
A question based on your experience, because our main effort is to empower patients, to strengthen them, to give them more power. And from your perspective, what are the most effective ways of achieving that? And what is the most important in this process?
So basically, what I am observing is that this is a process, and this is a long-term process based on people who need to take active roles. This is also a mindset change, a cultural change. It's a long journey. However, I would play a role of optimist, saying that every partner in this complex system, be it government, payer, policymaker, industry, medical community, or patients, we all have own roles which we need to take with responsibility. I would say that everybody wants the same good outcome, but we have limited perspectives. So we need to join those perspectives in a very constructive way, as my predecessors mentioned. So being constructive, but also have a prerequisite which are formally set in the system. So I know that in many of the systems, the patient representation is established, but sometimes it's more like pro forma, and it's on all of us to make it effective. There are some examples. I would say that, again, UK or the States are a bit advanced, but I believe that countries in this region can really catch up in our own manner, preserving our cultural identity and all the benefits our systems have incorporated. That would be my personal view.
Thank you very much. And let me ask you, Mira, a question. What is the most important thing in this way of building understanding and cooperation between patients, doctors, and other stakeholders? If you could just share your thought about one particular thing, what is the most important in this?
Right. From my experience, and it's about 12 years old now, on European level and on local level and regional level, the most important and basic relationship is between doctor and patient or healthcare professional. And that's very important. So it's not enough just to have well-educated patient, but you need to have a well-informed doctor. And as we heard, this young lady whose husband has kidney tumor, she wasn't told there is another treatment. And what we find in the region and in smaller countries, and that comes from my experience on European level or even global, is that in smaller countries and poorer countries, the doctors don't have the same opportunity to learn or to attend congresses. So in that way, I think the importance of pharmaceutical companies is also to think about that. And maybe this platform that Janssen has created is sort of available to physicians as well, because unless you have a well-informed doctor, you won't know what is the latest treatment in myeloma. And the only way you learn is if you go to congresses. That's how we do learn in my organization. we are very lucky as well because we got absolutely brilliant relationship with Hematological Association in Croatia, Crohem, the myeloma group. They work with us, they help with creating materials, and they attend congresses, and that's very important. Everyone else, and then the government needs to learn not just to speak of patients as being important, but actually listening to both patients and how it is to be a patient and go 3 times a week to have blood checks and sit around the halls and things. Doctors who know what the best treatment is, but no one listens to them, so you don't get access to drugs. So it's quite complex, and the whole setup in European Union is such that it delays arrival of the drug. It starts with the big 5, it goes to Germany, England and things, and then it comes very slowly to other countries. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So, as I understand, information, well-informed doctor, well-informed patient, it is what really matters in the process of treatment and achieving treatment goals. Just finishing our panel session,